What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm doing a Salamangreat deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because we just got Gazelle back at 3, which increases the power level of this deck by a lot. I'm really excited to show you guys this list, so without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name searched for every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Salamangreat Gazelle. I'm so excited that this card is back at 3. This card has an awesome effect that if a Salamangreat monster is sent to the graveyard, except a copy of Gazelle, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And that includes linking your monsters away, which is just such a cool effect about this card. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can send a Salamangreat card from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of Gazelle, which is an amazing effect to be able to use with cards like Spinny, your cards like Jack Jaguar, Falco. It's just an amazing card to be able to use. We then play 3 copies of Salamangreat of Fire. I still think this card is an amazing 3 of in the deck to help us step into the 1-card combo to go to your copy of Raging Phoenix. This card is such a good card in the deck because it's basically the Stratos of the deck. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 level 4 or lower Salamangreat monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. This card can help you even dodge cards like Zeus, which is such a cool effect about this card. We then play 3 copies of Salamangreat Spinny. Spinny is also definitely a 3 of in this particular build because it has an amazing effect that if you control a Salamangreat card, you can discard this card and then target a face-up monster on the field and it gains 500 attack until the end of this turn. And if you control a Salamangreat monster other than a copy of Spinny and this card's in the grave, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field, which helps you with your copy of Gazelle going to cards like Mirage Stalio because they're both level 3. Which is so cool about these 2 cards. We then play 2 copies of Salamangreat Foxy. Foxy is a really good normal summon in this deck, and this card is just really good overall, because when this card is normal summon, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck. And if you do, add 1 excavated Salamangreat card to your hand. Also shuffle the rest back in the deck. And if this card's in the graveyard, you can even extend your plays, because if there's a face-up spell and trap card on the field and this card's in the grave, you can discard a Salamangreat card to special summon this card. Then you can destroy a face-up spell or trap on the field. You don't have to, but you can destroy a face-up spell or trap, which is such a cool effect. This card is a definite 2-of in the build because it just helps out so much in this particular deck, especially helping you discard cards to the graveyard, like your copies of Jack Jaguar just helps out so much. Even discarding cards like Spinny is just really good. We then play 2 copies of Jack Jaguar. I still feel like 2 is the perfect number for this card because this card just helps you out so much because this card helps you just bring it back from the graveyard to extend your plays. It has a great ability to control a Salamangreat Link monster while this card's in the grave. You can target a Salamangreat monster in the grave, shuffle that target in the deck, and if you do, special summon this card to a zone your Salamangreat Link monster points to, which is a great ability, just to be able to get an additional monster on the field. We then play a single copy of Salamangreat Falco. Falco is really good in this deck as a 1-of, but you only need a single copy of Falco, and it has a great ability if it's sent to the grave, you can target a Salamangreat spell or trap in the grave and set that target to your field. And if this card's in your grave, you can target a Salamangreat monster you control, except a copy of Falco, return that monster to the hand, and if you do, special summon this card, which is a great effect. We then play a single copy of Weasel. Weasel's a really good extender in the deck, and if you have 2 or more Salamangreat monsters in the grave, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a great ability to be able to use this card just to instantly get it on your side of the field. I love that about this card, and it just helps out so much in the deck. This card also has a really neat ability that you can basically give this card to your opponent, which can help you lock down decks like Kashtira so they have a monster on the field so they can't special summon their monsters, which is just really cool. This card is a definite 1-of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of my personal spice for the deck, and that's going to be 3 copies of Parallel XZ. I really like Parallel XZ in the deck as a 3-of, because this card is really good, because if you do Link Summon, you can special summon this card from your hand and then special summon another Parallel XZ from your deck. They both become level 4 and they both go down to 1,000 attack and defense points, but you can use them for Link material, or you can do a really old school thing with this deck and summon out Abyss Dweller, which is basically like turning off the entire Unchained deck, which is absolutely insane. This card is really good in the deck and is really amazing with your copy of Parallel XZ because it's so easy to summon. And basically, if you do see this card, you just don't normal summon out your copy of Salamangreat of Fire, basically fire locking yourself for the whole turn, which is just not that big of a deal. You have so many other cards in your hand, you're just using this to be able to go into your copy of Gazelle. You could even kinda, sorta cut this card down to 2 if you wanted to. I still like it at 3, but you can cut fire down to 2, but you just don't normal summon it. If you see your copy of Parallel XZ, you summon something else, link it away for Balinks, summon out this, and then make your copy of Parallel XZ and extend your plays from there, because you have so many ways to extend your plays in the deck, especially since you have Gazelle at 3 now. But this card is really good as a 3-0 in the deck, just help you go in for different Link plays, or even go in for Abyss Dweller, which is just amazing, especially in this format. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really good at just stopping your opponent from touching the deck, and is a fantastic hand trap this format. We then play 3 copies of Nibiru. Nibiru is really good, especially this format, at just destroying combo decks. And if they summon 5 or more times, you just basically tribute everything and summon this to your side of the field, give them that token. And this deck can out this card extremely easily with cards like Access Code. Like, you can just out this card without even breathing hard, which is amazing. This card is an amazing 3-of hand trap in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is really good in this deck as a 2-of. You can basically play any hand trap you want in Salamangreat, and I feel like Effect Veiler is really good right now, and I feel like 2 is the perfect number because I'm also playing Imperm, but this card is great in the deck as a 2-of because we're also playing a really spicy spell card, and I like this card as a 2-of in the deck for that reason. So, that's going to do it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary. This card is a definite 1-of in the deck. You can search off your copy of Balinks, but this card is extremely important in the deck because it helps you reincarnate summon out your boss monsters. Like, we're using one for another material. For example, if you want to reincarnate summon one of your monsters, you basically use your one on the field to be able to summon out another one using that card as the whole material for the summon, which is really cool because then they get bonus effects, which is really nice, especially with cards like this, letting you do that, which is just really nice. You only play the one because you only need the one, but it's a really good 1-of in the deck. We then play a single copy of Will of the Salamangreat. I have cut this card down to 1 in this build, but this card is great because during their main phase, you can special summon a Salamangreat monster from your hand or grave, which is a great ability. And then this card is basically like Soul Charge, which is insane because you can target a Salamangreat monster that was link summoned using a monster with the same name as a material, which you do that with Raging Phoenix, and then you special summon from your graveyard monsters equal to that monster's link rating. So for example, if you have your copy of Raging Phoenix on the field, you can special summon like 4 Salamangreats from the graveyard off this card's ability, which is insane. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. This card basically just stops your opponent from hand trapping you, which is really nice, especially since we're playing so many different hand traps to hand trap our opponent. Speaking of hand traps, we're also playing 2 copies of Crossout Designator, which is why I'm playing the Veilers in this deck, because you really don't want to get Veilered. We can basically play through just about any hand trap in the game, which is a nice. But this card is really good in the deck to basically stop your opponent and then our own deck, which is really nice. Especially with cards like Nibiru, you don't want to get hit with Nibiru, but you can play around it. But this card is really good in the deck as a 2 because you can stop cards like Nibiru with this card, which is just really nice. This card is amazing in the deck as a 2-of. We then play 2 copies of Cyanide Mining. I feel like 2 is fine now that we have Gazelle at 3. You don't really need any more than this because you have so many different ways to get to Gazelle. And this card is fine as a 2-of in the deck. It's really good because it's basically Rhoda for Salamangreats because it lets you search Cyverse monsters from your deck to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Salamangreat Circle. This is also Rhoda for the deck, which is another reason why I cut Cyanide Mining down, is because Cyanide Mining at 2 is fine and Salamangreat Circle at 3 is amazing because this card is a Rhoda for the deck. You're basically playing like 5 Rhodas for this deck, just making this deck insanely consistent. This is one of the most consistent decks in the game with how many searchers it has. You have Salamangreat of Fire at 3, you have Circle at 3, you have Signet Mining at 2, you have like 8 searchers right there to get to Gazelle, which is just amazing. And plus, you're playing cards like Crossout Designator and Call By, so you don't get Ash Blossom, which is just super good. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start off with a single copy of Salamangreat Rage. This card is insane. It has the ability to let you send a Salamangreat monster from your hand or face or from field to the graveyard and target one card on the field and destroy it. But the effect you're always going to use on this card is targeting a Salamangreat link monster you control that was link summoned using a monster with the same name as a material. Again, reincarnate summoning that monster to your side of the field and destroy that many cards your opponent controls up to that monster's link rating, which is usually going to be 4 because you're going to set this card off of Raging Phoenix and then pop 4 cards on your opponent's side of the field, which is crazy. If this card goes through, you win. We then play a single copy of Salamangreat Roar. Roar is really good as a 1-of because this card is just a counter trap that says no to anything and can also set itself back to your side of the field, which is insane. This card is really, really good as a 1-of in the deck and is searchable in the deck off of Raging Phoenix. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is one of the best hand traps this format, and just stopping your opponent's monster effects and also setting this card to your side of the field to lock down entire columns of spells and traps. This card is really good as a 3-of in the build. So that's going to do it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. This card you're always going to make going first, and this card is insanely powerful. If this card is link summoned using a Salamangreat Raging Phoenix, reincarnate summoning this card as itself, as a material, then you can add 1 Salamangreat card from your deck to your hand, which is usually going to be one of the traps that you're going to be adding and then setting to your side of the field. But this card is a really insane effect that if a face-up fire monster that you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect while this card's in your graveyard, you can target 1 of those monsters and then special summon this card. And if you do, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's attack in the grave, which is insane that this card can actually, if one of them was on the field, for example, like if you have 1 on the field and 1 is in the grave and your opponent destroys this one, you can special this one back out of the grave as a 5,600 attack point monster, which is insane. They basically just float into one another and you're always going to use them to reincarnate summon into one another, so you're going to get that search, which is just really cool. We then play a single copy of Access Code. This is how we OTK on turn 3. And this card is amazing in the deck because it can pop multiple cards on the field because we play multiple attributes in the extra deck. I think the only one that we don't play is Light in the extra deck. This card is amazing in the deck to be able to pop multiple cards on the field. And it's just basically how we OTK. We then play a single copy of Transcode Talker. This card is Walking Monster Reborn, which is really good in this particular build. We play a single copy of Decode Talker Heat. So I heard drawing 2 cards is amazing. And this card does that. So you're playing it as a 1-up. This card is really good because you basically pay 1,000 life points, draw a card on our turn, pass to the opponent, and then we draw a card on their turn by paying an additional 1,000 life points, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Update Jammer so we can OTK with Access Code, which is amazing to be able to do. And this card is just overall one of the best cards in the entire extra deck because you can let Access Code attack twice, which is just crazy. We then play 2 copies of Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. I feel like 2 is enough. I don't feel like you need any more than 2 of this card. This card is really good because if a monster is normally special summoned to a zone this card points to, then you can add a fire monster from your graveyard to your hand, which is really good to be able to just immediately grab cards like Ash Blossom, or the main target that you're going to be grabbing is Gazelle for follow-up next turn, which is amazing to be able to do. If you already have a Gazelle in your hand and you've already used one this turn, but you have an extra one in the hand, you can grab stuff like Ash, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Splash Mage. Splash Mage is a walking monster born like Transcode, which is really cool to be able to use in this particular build. We then play 3 copies of Balinx. Balinx is amazing in this deck as a 3-up. It has the ability, if it's link summon, you can add a Salamangreat Sanctuary from your deck to your hand. And if a Salamangreat card that you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you may discard from the grave instead, giving you a little bit of protection. I did actually consider cutting this card down to 2 and playing a single copy of Hita if you you guys want to do that, you can, and it's something that I'm still testing because I'm also playing a single copy of Link Decoder. If you want to drop a single copy of the Bay Links, you can, to be able to play a copy of Hita if you want to, but you can play the copy of Link Decoder as well. Link Decoder is really amazing because it just requires a level 4 lower Cyverse monster, and if it's sent to the graveyard as a material for a Cyverse Link monster with 2300 or more original attack, you can special summon this card, but banish when it leaves the field, which is a great effect, especially since we play cards like Transcode, Access Code, your copy of Decode Talker, or Heat Soul. Is just really good to be able to do with this card because then it just revives them back to your side of the field and helps you step into other cards, which is just amazing. This card is really good as a 1-up in the deck, plus it gives us an additional attribute in the extra deck because it's just really good. Because between these Link monsters, you're playing Dark, Fire, Water, Wind, and Earth in the extra deck. So the only thing you're missing is Light to be able to use with Access Code to pop multiple cards on the field. We then play a single copy of Mirage Stallion. This card is a combo piece in the deck. It lets you detach a material, special summon a Salamangreat monster from the deck in defense, which is usually going to be your copy of your Jack Jaguar if you don't already have one, which is just really, really good. But for the rest of the turn, you cannot activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except Fire. So this card can Fire Lock you, so be very careful with this card. We then play a single copy of Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is amazing with Parallel XZ, especially since in the Unchained matchup, this card basically turns off their entire turn and lets you win the game. This card is amazing in the deck as one of, and with just any 2 level 4s you can make this card, but it's easy to do with Parallel XZ in this deck, especially with how easy it is to get to Parallel XZ because you play it at 3, then you play 2 Signet Mining, which makes it so you're like playing like, well, you can't search for Signet Mining, but you can still play like 3, which is really, really good. This card is amazing in the deck as a 1-up and is a really good card in the build. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this card. This deck is just really amazing now that we have our copies of Gazelle at 3. Because it's so easy to get to that card now, and it's just really good that now just because one copy of Gazelle gets banished, we don't just automatically lose, which is just so cool. It increased the consistency of the deck. It made the deck so much more fun to play because you don't have to worry about just losing a Gazelle and then not being able to play anymore. And it's just such, like, it's so nice to have that card back at 3. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.